This is the Khmer Times News. My name is Paolo Bonini, and these are your headlines. Young boys rape and murder a teenage girl, and believe me, this story is unbelievable. A body is found in the forest left by bungling murderers, and a wizard does something amazing. He magically reappears. And if all that is not enough, we have the world's worst robbery. So let's get on. First, a headline story, and this one is really off the charts. And my goodness, it created a lot of headlines. It started with this: teenage girl found dead in primary school toilet. A young girl was discovered dead in a primary school toilet. She was just 15 years old. Now, that one sentence is bad enough on its own, but this story is going to get a whole load worse. The young girl's body was discovered at 6:30 in the morning by a teacher at Crow's primary school. What she saw when she entered that toilet was horrific. On the floor lay the corpse of a teenage girl. Her clothes were ripped and torn, and she showed signs of being beaten. It was soon determined she had been strangled and she had been savagely raped. But just 24 hours later, this next headline appeared: 3 teens arrested over rape murder. The 3 suspects are an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and the other is just 15 years of age. When interrogated, the boys admitted they had invited the young girl out for drinks at a coffee shop, and it was there the boys had spiked her drink with sleeping pills. When she fell asleep, the boys carried her body to the school, and it is there, in that toilet, they beat her and they raped her. After the rape, the oldest boy removed his belt and he wrapped it around the young girl's throat. He then strangled her until she gasped her last breath. The boys, though, had one final insult. They then robbed her of her cash and her mobile phone. The latest update on this story generated this final headline: detention extended for students accused of rape murder in school toilet. The investigating judge has ordered the continued detention of these 3 youths. Now, what these boys did is an absolute abomination. The crime itself was wholly premeditated, and they set out that day to drug, to rape, and to kill a 15-year-old girl, a girl who believed that she was going out for a drink with friends. But those friends left her as a beaten corpse on a toilet floor. On this week's Crime Desk, a body found in a forest left by careless killers. A wizard does a neat trick and he reappears. And a story so ludicrous I can't even think of a headline for it. Trust me, it's that bad. This week, arrests were made for a murder that saw a corpse come to light very quickly indeed. The headline read, "Police arrest foreigners after man's body found buried in forest." Police have announced that they have arrested 3 suspects, all of them foreigners, after a man's body was found buried in a remote forest. And these men were pretty bloody awful at committing crime, as they were discovered pretty much red-handed. One morning last week in Svarchet district, residents were going about their normal day. They had had breakfast and set out herding cattle to fresh pastures. As they moved the herd slowly onward, they discovered 2 luxury cars parked in the middle of a forest, which is really, really odd in such a rural community. When they got closer, the locals spotted extremely suspicious men. And when the men saw they had been spotted, they fled in their cars. The farmers reported the strange incident to local authorities. Now, I'm guessing here But my feeling is the police may have heard of a kidnapping, as very quickly more than 20 police officers, military police and border guards came to the site. And it was not long until they found the body of what's believed to be a foreign man shot dead and left on the forest floor. It was not long until 3 men were arrested. 2 are Myanmar nationals and 1 is a Chinese national. Now, as to why the man was killed is not known, but these 3 men who were so blatant in their crime are now facing the accusing fingers of some very good witnesses. And those witnesses could possibly put them in jail for an awful long time. Now we have a crime that is so very idiotic. I almost coughed up a lung when I saw the headline. Here is that headline. Well, almost all of it. It read, "Louts arrested for stealing necklace from blank, blank, blank in Phnom Penh." Now, if you are keen of eye, you would have noted there that I have blanked out who was the victim of the robbery. But have no fear, dear viewer, I will reveal it in just a moment. And it is unbelievable. Firstly, I have to set the stage for the big reveal. I feel it best we get some perspective first. Here are the biggest, boldest, baddest robberies of all time. Number 1 is the Antwerp diamond heist that netted $100 million, an operation in thievery that went like a Swiss watch. The third is the Brinks-Mat gold robbery that netted $111 million and was a masterclass by London's crime lords on how to not only steal but also dispose of ill-gotten gains. Then there's the Knightsbridge security deposit robbery, another London job that garnished $70 million. But again, a blag, as it is known in the trade, that was a symphony of skullduggery. So now I have educated you in some of the biggest blags of all time. Let's return to our story. Last week, the victim of the robbery went to buy snacks and was walking home alone. It was then the 3 suspects pulled up on a motorcycle and they saw the victim. The suspects got off the motorbike and snatched the gold necklace from the victim's neck. They then sped off. Now, for the big reveal. Here is the rest of the headline. Louts arrested for stealing necklace from 5-year-old girl. Yep, 3 men snatched a tiny gold necklace from a little girl who was 5. So let's just clarify the ground that we stand on. These are 3 grown men. This is a 5-year-old girl. Grown men in the number of 3, a singular 5-year-old girl. The men snatched the gold chain off the girl who was 5. Sorry, no, my brain just won't calculate this level of stupid. Anyway, right, back to the story. The victim's mother, you see, realised that her child had lost her necklace, so she took her to file a complaint at the police station. The officers soon identified the suspects and arrested the 3 men. And do you want to know how old they were? Well, there was Mr. Makara, who's 20 years old, Mr. Nang, who is 27 years old, and Mr. Tun, who's 34 bloody years old. And I'm not saying another word. I refuse to. Okay, I will finish the story. These knuckleheads have been charged with robbing a 5-year-old girl. Holy mother. She was 5. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. It's a headline that upsets me more than any other, but has the habit of appearing with alarming regularity. And here it is, and I'm not even going to read it out. I will let you read this one. Yes, 2 more children are laying in a morgue, and again a hit-and-run driver is wanted by the police. The tragedy that befell two families is one that they will never recover from, as they are mourning the deaths of their teenage sons. Both died instantly when hit by a speeding car earlier this week. The accident took place at 7:20 a.m. on National Road 156D at the intersection of Wat An Chan Bridge and An Chan Village. Lieutenant Colonel Tek Bun Tong stated that a white Hyundai truck was travelling along Road 156D. It then turned left, crossing the opposite lane, and it hit a black Honda Dream travelling in the same direction. So what happened was the truck was going to make the turn whilst the two young boys were overtaking. But as the truck manoeuvred, the boys were hit by a car coming in the opposite direction. Both boys were just 15 years old and students at a nearby school. The truck driver, to his credit, stayed at the scene, but the car that caused the two boys' deaths sped off, leaving them to die right there on the tarmac. And as I go to record this show, I have just seen this headline: driver flees after man's death in Phnom Penh. Yes, it's another statistic to add to the mounting toll of deaths by hit and run. I try to end every week's news show with something light-hearted, and this story does have a tone of levity about it. That is, until it drops into the abyss of tragedy and of murder. It all starts with me sitting at my computer reviewing stories for this week's show when a familiar face appeared on my screen. It is this guy. I looked at the photo and I thought to myself, I know that face. He's a wizard. So I looked into the archives of the Khmer Times and I dragged out this story. It's from June of 2024. And the reason I remember him is this guy had been posting videos on social media. And in these videos, he was telling all that he was a wizard with incredible magic powers. He could cure anything, and I do mean anything. Poisonous snake bites? No worries. Cancer? Yep, he's got that covered. And he even posted a video of himself being shot with a handgun to show that even bullets could not penetrate his magic aura. Needless to say, he was arrested, and he promised to the police he would not do it again. So, how did that go? Well, this week he's back with this headline: Department of Cults and Religion tells Guru to stop posting content that affects social security on social media. Yes, he's back again, and again he has been told to stop posting videos of him banishing evil spirits, guaranteeing good luck, selling love potions, and of course treating incurable diseases. Mr. Nop has promised never to do it again. So we can expect to see him next year. Now, this is all rather amusing, isn't it? But it ain't. People like this kill with their medical quackery, saying that they can cure, and that only leads to people not seeking proper medical help. And that has caused deaths. And do not underestimate the belief that some have in these wizards, and as it can be so strong, it can even lead to murder. As this headline testifies: wizard murderer arrested. A 51-year-old woman in Takao province was arrested some months ago after she suffocated a wizard to death due to her belief that his magic was the reason for her misfortunes. And it got worse, as after she was arrested, she sat in her cell and she saw no hope for the future. So this lady hung herself in that cell. Yet another victim of a misguided belief in magic. It's time to have a look ahead and see what the weather has in store for us next week. And as we claw and drag our way to the final piece, which is the weather, we slide to our thing of the week. And it's this. I've got some mail. It's come in saying thank you very much for the show. He seems to enjoy it. And he agrees about the smoking thing I did the other day. But he says this. He says, could you possibly Use Celsius measurements for your weather report. Only Luddites are still using Fahrenheit. Thank you, and keep it coming. And that came in from a gentleman, I use the word gentleman there very, very loosely, called Total Nutter. And as to why he's using a moniker that would suit my ex-girlfriend, I have absolutely no idea. But he has requested it, so that's exactly what he's got to get. Now, it's all too bloody difficult doing this as it is. Now I've got to do it another way. So hold on, let me try and get it up. You know I have trouble getting it up. Now it's going to be worse this week. And bingo! With the right tickle, there it is. Now then, here you go, Total Nutter. The temperature is 29.4444 recurring. Yeah, you made the show so much better. Cheers, pal. Or if you just want to be sensible about it and are much more British, it's a solid 85 degrees. And what do we see across the bottom board? We see, well, the temperature can go higher than that. It goes up to 95 at times. And there's rain, and there's wind, and there's more rain. But this is localized rain. You may not see it for days, but it's raining somewhere, basically. The humidity, something that Total Nutter and no one else can argue, because it's always in percentages, will reach a high of 90%. This has been the Khmer Times News. Please do subscribe and comment and stay up to date with all the breaking news by following us on both Facebook and Telegram. This has been Paolo Bonini, and that was the week that was. I'll see you next weekend for your weekly Roundup.